Hi everyone! In this video, we will talk about types, classifiers, and search methods in more detail. Let's talk about types. A type is an object of the UDM model that stores data in a tabular format. For example, the client type consists of the client's data and contains the attributes last name, first name, date of birth, and so on. Table columns are called attributes in platform. Now we are in a test application and a type context has already been created here. In order to create a new type, you need to select Type in the menu, specify its directory, enter a name, and mark the necessary checkboxes. The first checkbox is checked by default, and it enables indication of the object's creation date. The second checkbox enables indication of the date the object was modified. The third checkbox allows for enabling versioning. This means that each new version of the object will also be stored in the database along with the old version. The directory checkbox allows you to mark a type as a directory, so that when exporting this type from an application, in addition to its structure, all its data will also be exported. The temporary checkbox allows you to indicate the type as a temporary. This means that its data will not be stored in the database permanently, but will be stored only in the current transaction. In our case, we will keep the first checkbox marked and click Save. Further, in the application structure, our new type clients shows up and the type editor opens. Let's create some attributes. To do this, click on the Add Attribute button. Enter the name of the attribute, specify its data type. The data type can be one of the simple types or a link to an existing type or even the current type. This can be used when we need to create some kind of hierarchy. Or it can be a UDML expression. In this case, we will keep it as a simple type string and click Save. Let's add another attribute and call it Contacts and indicate it as a link to the contacts type. Also, we will indicate that this attribute is a collection. Now, our type has two attributes, contacts and last name. Note that there is also a column physical name and its values are not filled yet. In order to be able to use our new type in the application designer, we need to relaunch our application for the physical names to be created in the database. To do this, click the Relaunch button. During the restart, the application is stopped and synchronized with the database, so that all created or modified objects will be maintained in the database. After the application has been relaunched, we need to refresh the application designer window. Now we can see the physical names of the attribute. And also our table has got a physical name now. Now we can fill the type with data. To create a new record, click the Create button and enter the required data here. Let's create a test client. Enter the last name and select an existing contact from the contacts type or add a new one. Since the attribute was defined as a collection, we can add several contacts. When adding new contacts to a new record, an additional window opens where you need to enter the data of the new contact. Now we have two records in our type. Let's see how filtration works here. To do this, go to the search methods. Each type has built-in search methods. They can be found in the documentation. For example, the all search method, which returns all objects, or the UDML new method, which creates a new record in the type, and so on. Let's create our own search method. click the Add Method button, specify the name, and select the type of method. It can be Query Designer, SQL Query, or Full Text Search. Let's choose Query Designer. After that, the search method appears in the list. Select it. Now we can start editing it. The first tab, Parameters, allows you to set the input parameters for the search method. There may be several. In our case, we need a parameter to store phone numbers. Now indicate that this parameter is optional and click Save. Then we move to the search conditions. In order to add a condition, click the Add Condition button. Select the attribute by which the comparison will be made, the condition, and then you can specify whether a fixed value or a parameter. In our case, it's one parameter, number. After saving, we can test the search in the Application Designer. Since we have an optional parameter, we can submit an empty value. And in this case, we get all the values of the type. If the parameter is not optional, then we get the clients who have an empty phone number. If we enter a specific value, then the data is filtered and the client whose number contains the value we entered will be displayed. Note here that the result of the search will always be a collection of objects of the current type. So as a result of a search in type clients, we always get a collection of objects of type clients. Also, if the search contains more than one parameter, then the order of these parameters is important when implementing the search anywhere in the application. The object that is similar to a type is the type extension, a kind of extension that is created in another module. Another type-like object is the classifier. It's a set of constant values. For example, it can be used for data such as gender or contact type. In this case, classifiers are formed of classes and not attributes. So, each classifier contains a set of values that will be displayed in the interface. In our case, the gender classifier contains two classes, male and female. We can also make a reference to a classifier in the type. To do this, we add a new attribute, specify the name, and link it to the gender classifier. After making changes in the model, the physical name for the gender attribute is not created yet. This means that this data is absent in the database. To create it, we need to relaunch the application again. After that, we can specify the gender for our clients and continue working on them. In this video, we covered types, classifiers, and search methods and how to create them. See you in the next video. We will be discussing processes in more detail.